Hey guys, it's time for another story time with Matt. And today we're going to talk about the time that I joined the bike club. The bike club was called the River to River Cycling Club. This was a t-shirt, or the dress shirt we had. And we had a jersey, which I'll talk about in a minute. But really, anytime you're dealing with something like this, it's interesting people involved. And so this club, it was cool. I'm glad I got to be involved in it. But at the same time, it didn't go as planned. And in a lot of ways, it was kind of a disaster. So just give you a little bit of the history here. I found out there was this person organizing rides in Marion, Illinois, close to where I live, and he was organizing critical mass rides, which is bizarre because critical mass is something, if you don't remember, it happened in cities in the early 2000s. It was kind of like a protest movement. All the cyclists would gather up in the city and clog the streets, and it was, kind of like a rebel thing to do. And I thought that was kind of cool. I've always been interested in people, kind of like protesting and stuff. But at the same time, if every cyclist in Southern Illinois got together, we still really wouldn't have enough for a critical mass ride. And this was pretty much just kind of a weird, goofy joke to me, because I think his critical mass ride, like 3 people came, but he still somehow got it in the newspaper, But anyway, so I found out that this guy, and we're just going to call him the president. I don't really want to talk about anybody's name here, but we're just going to call him the president. The president had started this cycling club, the River to River Cycling Club. And he was kind of advertising around on some of the local, this is pre-Facebook. And so I think he had started a website for he had a forum on the website. And he had posted in some other, there was, I think I originally saw it in the SMBA forum, where I used to do a lot of organizing rides and stuff back then. So this is right around 2008. I find out about it in like maybe the very end of the 2008 riding season. And over that winter, I began emailing back and forth with the president about the club, and he's all enthusiastic, and it was kind of like meeting a guru. This guy was really, really, really into it, and his enthusiasm was very contagious. I was really into it after talking to him a little while, and I'd always kind of wanted to be part of a big cycling club. There's a River to River running club in Southern Illinois, and they do a lot of big events, and I always thought there should be some kind of large cycling club too, and so they'd kind of model it after this as the River to River Running Club. So when I start talking to the president, I find out that he's got big plans. He's chartered the club. It's supposedly there's some record of the club now. He's paid to get it record in the International Bicycle Club Registry in France or something. He was supposedly learning French. He'd really got all into this whole amateur cycling movement thing. And he was really, really, really into a specific type of cycling called randonneering, which I found out. And this is where things started to go wrong. So after talking to him a little bit, joining the club, paying I think $10 in dues to join the club for the next year. I find out that this guy is not, not always. I don't know if he likes to exaggerate. We'll put it that way. He's maybe not always telling you exactly the truth, because I find out that all these charter members of the club, he's got a big list of members and charter members, and I reach out and talk. I kind of somehow got in contact with some of the charter members that were supposed to be, because I was wanting to know what's the history of this? Where'd you guys come from? Because supposedly he'd been kind of building this club up for a few years. So I started talking to some of these charter members. They didn't even really know about it. They were like, yeah, I heard that guy's doing some kind of bike club. I'm like, well, you're a charter member. And he's like, well, I didn't know, It was like, okay, well, you're supposed to be the secretary. I didn't know that. So I find out that he's got a constitution, and he's got a charter and all this stuff. And I never see it. I just find out that, supposedly he has it. Well, over the course of that winter was the first sign that things were going to be kind of weird with this group, especially with this president. So as he kind of starts communicating with us through, I think, a newsletter and on the forum and stuff like that, we find that he's really, really driving, pushing everyone towards randoneering. You know, like for him, cycling was really going to be about randoneering, which if you don't know, randoneering is this like ultra long distance, sort of controlled cycling. It's not exactly a race, but it's sort of more like an endurance challenge. You have to ride a certain number of miles in a certain amount of time, and you have to have people sign that you arrived at, say, like this gas station and this place at that time or whatever. And you turn in your records at the end of the ride, and you get like a credit with the international organization. And just like, to me, none of that seemed important. It just kind of seemed like a way to turn your bike rides into a job. It just wasn't interesting to me. You know, if I want to race, I want to go to a bike race. I don't really want to go have people sign me in places. It just seems stupid. So anyway, I wasn't interested in that. And most of the nobody else was. Nobody was really interested in that. And it kept, you could see it was just like irritating this guy that he wanted to have these like ultra long distance training rides. Okay, we're going to have a century, you know, in 8 hours on March 2nd, you know, or something, and everybody's going to show up and do a century, and then that's going to be training. People are like, no, we're going to do 15 miles, you know. It's like, I'm just getting the dust off my bike. He'd been riding all winter because this guy was just like all about riding all the time. It was like that was his life. He'd never stopped. He was riding 200 or 300 miles in the winter, the coldest cold, wet, didn't matter. He was just going out and riding. He was just really, really hardcore. And so things weren't exactly going well. And you could tell that the members that he had, you know, got in his cycling club weren't the members that he wanted. And I did do some rides with him that spring, the first spring with the club, and talking to him, you know, he's very exciting to ride with. He loved to talk. He'd talk your leg off, just blah, 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 blah. Well, I find out that he had, I guess, attempted racing, more traditional type of racing, and decided that it wasn't for him, but the endurance was, you know, because he's like, you can't, you're never going to get genetically faster than you genetically can be, but he'd be like, you can push yourself. It's all about pushing yourself. And for him, it was like a challenge, you know, and it was just always about the challenge. As that year goes on, our group rides start to kind of fall off, and I did meet some really cool people. I had some really enjoyable rides, and it just, you could see that the leadership, he was very frustrated with us. He was planning these randoneers, and he had some success with that. He had people coming from all over the Midwest to do his randoneer rides, and he had like really, really got into that and kind of started kind of like ignoring the club. And then over the next winter, it kind of just totally fell apart. He was really he actually got mad and about something. I don't remember the details. I just remember he got mad and he said he quit the club. He didn't have anything to do with it. So me and a few of the members decided to try to keep it going. And we got these jerseys printed up. We had some meetings. But even after quitting the club, our president, he still kind of, he was always emailing me, wanting to know what was going on. He was just still trying to be part of it. And some of the other charter members, whoever they were, some of the other officers, there was like a treasurer who had access to a bank account that had some amount of money in it from our dues, but we never could get access to it. And finally, I was able to get access to the account because the president didn't want to have anything to do with anything anymore, and he gave me access to the account only to find out that there was nothing in it. The treasurer had made a big withdrawal and took all the money or something. It was just like kind of a complete cluster at that point, and we were all pretty like just kind of mad about the whole thing. And so I learned a valuable lesson. You know, if you're going to get involved in something, you know, you got to understand there's a lot of crazy people out there, and you just never know what you're going to get. You got to trust the people you're getting involved with, and if you start to get warning signs that maybe things aren't what they seem like, you have to ignore them. I'm sorry, you can't ignore them. You have to listen to your gut sometimes about that, because I mean, I did put a lot of time and effort into this group and got very little out of it, except for this cool jersey, which I did design. I think we sold about 30 of these. So River to River Cycling, it had a short and inglorious history, maybe at the max 30 members, and it just kind of like fell apart the next year because the 2 or 3 of us that were trying to keep it going realized that it was a lot more work than it was worth, and there was so much bad blood and so much, some of the earlier members, especially a couple of those so-called charter members that had just kind of messed it all up. So anyway, that's another story time with Matt. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later.